In this video, I'm going to look at two ways to take the candy problem we talked about before and turn it into an array. So I'm expecting that you've read the lecture PDF on candy first before you come here, and that you've actually tried some of these problems. And here I'm just going to show you the script that we make in that lecture. So here we see the same thing we had before. We have each of our candies with their cost laid out. Now what I've done here is say, let's take and make an array out of all of those. So if we run this in the debugger, so what this looks like is, so rock candy cost is 35, gum is 5, etc. When I build an array this way, I end up with an array with 4 values with those numbers in it. So this says make me an array, and this builds those values in it. So we can do the same thing again with our number of candies. So this gives us another array with each of these values. And you could build these arrays by hand by actually saying n candies equals square bracket 0, 10, 2 if you want. This is just a way to show you how to do this in a way that's actually legible. Okay, so our previous way of calculating our total cost was to take and add each of these items together individually. Well, we're going to replace this with what's called an element-wise operation. So what this line is going to do is it's going to take each element in candy cost and multiply it by each element in n candies. You'll notice this dot times. This is the command that tells MATLAB that you want to take each element and multiply it by each element. If you just put times, you'll get an error. All right, so let's look at per candy cost. So now we have 4 elements, which is how much we're spending on each candy. Then we can use the command sum to total those values up and then print out the answer. We can go look at our command window. So here we see the individual cost printout using disp and then the total cost of the candy. And you'll notice we get the same answer whether we calculate it the first way or the second way. So our second version of turning things into arrays is, instead of taking each of these and turning them into arrays, what we're going to do is say we want to try 3 different counts of each candy. So we want to try 0 rock candy, 1 and 2, and same with gum, lollipop, etc. So let's run this. So again, we have our candy costs. But now when we make these, instead of being a single number, they're 3 numbers. So we're going to keep the same original equation we had before, and what this is going to do is take this single number and multiply it by these 3 numbers, then take this single number and multiply it by 3 numbers, and so on. When we do that, we actually get out an array that has 3 values in it. So that's the sum using 0, 10, 2, and 3, and then the sum using 1, 5, 2, and 5, and so on. So what happens if we print this out? So this is now an array. We do a print. What happens? Well, it printed it out 3 times. So that's what MATLAB will do by default. May not be what you want, but if you ever see lots of print statements showing up, chances are that's what happened. Now if you want to print out just the value of 1 candy, cut and paste this over. What you do instead is, instead of saying total cost, is you tell it which one you want to print out. So now in this case, we'll print out the first value. We can print out the second value and the third value.